All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. So hello, everybody. My name is AJ Kuftik. I'm Principal Technologist for Expedient. I want to thank you all for joining us here today. I want to thank our marketing group for putting together the gift cards for everybody so everybody can have a nice lunch. Hopefully you got to get that. Also, good morning to those in other time zones than the East Coast time zone. But we're going to get started. We're going to meet the Expedient Cloud today. I'm going to go through a quick demo. I want to leave a ton of time at the end for Q&A, diving a little bit deeper onto the things that you guys see. But first, I want to do some quick housekeeping. Please enter all questions into the Q&A panel and not into the chat. That way we can kind of keep track of the questions, make sure they get marked as answered. And if we don't answer your question during the webinar, we'll answer you via email so we can kind of make sure that everybody gets the follow-up that they need. If you ask a question, you're entered to win a prize. That prize is a Sonos Play 1 speaker. So if you ask a question, pick your name, and we'll get your address and send that out to you. So this is also being recorded right now. So if you miss something, you want to go back, we'll be posting and sending out the recording after the session. So no, Chris, that does not count as a question. It is a question, but we want to talk about the demo. So first, let's meet Expedient. For those of you who don't know Expedient, we were founded in 2001. We started as a data center colo company, but we expanded into cloud and managed services and being a managed services provider. We have locations in US East, Central, and West. So we have a national cloud able to deliver your VMs and your platforms to where they need to be. We have 11 locations right now. So there's a high likelihood that we're probably in your neighborhood. We have international cloud deployments in Australia, Germany, and Canada. Those are on customer sites. So if you don't want to be in our data center or our data center isn't where you want your cloud to be, we can actually bring that to you. We are a VMware VCPP provider since the inception of the program. VMware is a very, very strong partner of ours, and we continue running through that program. So let's talk about the differences between a hyperscale cloud and an enterprise cloud. So a hyperscale cloud like AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, they're very much application clouds. They expect the redundancy in your application, not at the hardware level, not at the VM level, not at the instance level. They expect you to be handling that at a higher order. A VMware-powered enterprise cloud provider like VMware on AWS, IBM Cloud, or Expedient is all based on the traditional VMware SDDC stack. So we use vSphere and the rest of that stack to provide the level of redundancy so that your skill set translates over directly from what you're doing on premises, and there's not a huge learning curve to pick up where you left off in your on-premises data center. We have a number of recognitions. We were the America's Cloud Partner of the Year for 2019 from VMware. We've been in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for DR as a service 3 years in a row. And we've gotten a number of other recognitions from CRN and Channel Futures. So people see what we do. We do a great job of it. And we want to show you guys more of what that actually is. So let's start with the actual basics of Expedient Enterprise Cloud. And it's based on the VMware SDDC stack. So on the bottom is VMware vSphere, the hypervisor and virtualization platform of choice for the better part of a decade or plus. It's the same technology. So vSphere 6.7 is what we're running. It's what you're running. So you're very familiar with VMware and what the vSphere platform and how that operates and how the redundancy and migrations are all built into that. The storage sits on top of vSAN, and what that allows us to do is provide a multi-tenant storage structure without having to build individual storage arrays, maintain those individual storage arrays, and we don't have to, worry about SAN connections and those sorts of things. It's all hyperconverged infrastructure. Our network platform is NSX. So we can do distributed firewall off of that, but we can also offer other additional networking services, and we'll dig into some of those as part of the demo. We use vCloud Director for our multi-tenancy. So that is a single portal for all of our data centers. There's no picker. You don't have to figure out like, oh, which region am I happening to be in? You can deploy to any region from one portal. And we also have the other pieces of that, the vCloud availability for data protection, and VROPS and vRealize Log Insight are also part of that interface. So it's all in one interface. You go in there and you can operate your entire infrastructure from one portal. Digging a little bit deeper into that. So the Expedient Enterprise Cloud pods are based on Dell PowerEdge hardware. So it's enterprise class hardware with enterprise class support. We're not building any OEM hardware. We're not trying to cut any corners. These are the same 740XDs that you can purchase and put into your data center. We're using Juniper 40 gig spine switches and Arista 25 gig leaf switches. So we have the bandwidth and the throughput to be able to deliver your applications the network capabilities that they need. We don't have to really worry about oversubscribing networks. We don't have to really fight about network bandwidth. It's all baked into that platform. And each one of our pods has 30 plus terabytes of RAM and almost 2 petabytes of disk. And we have more than one pod in our data centers. So we're capable of having this massive scale to be able to support this. We started this in 2018 with absolutely zero VMs, and we're currently running about 15,000 VMs across the entire platform right now. So we've seen massive scale in like 18 months. So we're very proud of it. It's been a very, very, very strong platform for us. One of the big keys here though, is that when you're looking at cloud and you're looking at maybe going to a hyperscale cloud, one of the things you're looking for is you're looking for elasticity, right? The whole reason you're going there is because you only want to pay for what you're using. What we do is we have a consumption-based model. So you pay for your VM, you pay per gig of RAM and per gig of storage. And in doing so, you don't have to worry about t-shirt sizes. There's no, ooh, is that a small or is that a medium? Is that an extra large? None of that. You pay for the resources you're using. It simplifies the model. You know exactly what you're using. You can pull the same report out of your vCenter like we pull out of ours, and you can see CPUs, memory, gigs of storage, and so forth. We have all flash storage that's sitting next to our compute. So it's all hyper-converged infrastructure, all on top of all flash. There's no spinning disks. We have secondary storage options if you need big, deep storage. But in this instance, it's all flash. We can also scale out and scale up. So you can build giant VMs or you can build a bunch of tiny VMs. You can go either way. It all sits inside of your resource pools. All of our disks are encrypted. So if you have compliance regimes like PCI, SOC 1, SOC 2, HIPAA, HITRUST, those are all the attestations that we have as a company, and we are willing to back that through EEC. So let's talk about this demo. We're going to log in. We're going to go through some roles, look at our catalog of options that we have to deliver VMs, and talk about how you can build your own. We're going to deploy a VM, do some networking, a little microsegmentation, look at some monitoring, and then we'll go through some of our documentation and show you what documentation that we have that's available. But it's demo time. Let's dig into this. So what we have here, this is our login page. So I'm logging in with our AD. This is our AD. If you're a customer of EEC, you can use your Active Directory or your authentication platform. When we have when we do that, this allows you as the operator to manage your lifecycle of your accounts the same way that you manage your accounts for Windows logins and file shares on-prem. It's all connected together. You don't have to treat us as a separate authentication point. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. And on my phone, I just got a 2FA notification, and I'll go ahead and approve that. So we have 2FA to log in. Expedient.cloud is available as a public website, so you can get to it. But if you log in, we have 2FA on all of our accounts. We don't say some of these are 2FA, some of them are not. It's all baked in. So when we start here, we're looking at our main data center view. So on the left is our 701 data center. That's in Indianapolis. And then we have our ACM data center, which is in Pittsburgh. We have 9 other data centers after that. So if you're in any of those, they show up down here at the bottom. So let's go take a look at administration. So you can see here's our users. You can create local users if you want to, but you can also do SAML authentication to other Active Directory. So this is going to our cust CBB domain. So if I go into the roles, these are the out-of-the-box roles that are part of EEC and part of what we deliver. But when we go into new, we have the ability to grant read-only access. So if you have an operations staff that just needs to be able to see what's happening inside there, but you don't want them to make changes, you can do that. Or we can go down to here to the VApp, and you can get into granular things like they only have the rights to delete a VApp, or they only have the rights to edit CPU. This is also really great for API accounts. So if you have any automation that you want to run against EEC, you can grant it just the rights to do that so that your automation doesn't make everything worse very quickly. All right, so we're going to go into our libraries now. And I'm running through this very quickly because I want to make sure that we have maximum time for questions at the end. So we have our templates. So these EEC templates, these are ours. So if you want to deploy a Windows machine, these are basic Windows 2012, 2016, 2019 machines. They're patched. They have VMware tools, but they're available for you to use. There's no charge for using the templates. There's no charge for using any of our images. If you want to bring your own, like let's say you have a Windows template or an Ubuntu template or a RHEL template that you really like, or it's hardened to the way that you expect it to be, you can export that from your vCenter and upload it directly with zero modifications. You don't have to rebuild it because your provider has some sort of different imaging process or different way of delivering VMs. You can bring that directly in. So there's no change in skill set. You don't have to relearn anything. We also can group our data centers together. So 701 and ACM are connected. We have a nationwide ring network between all of our data centers. So 701 and ACM are linked together. And if we go into the details here, we can see the actual network topology that we're delivering. So we have both of our data centers are connected together. The egress points for those data centers can be failed over. So let's say you're in a DR scenario, you can fail your entire egress over and it'll all come out of the other data center that's still available. One of the easy ways to do that though, is to use stretch networks. So we can stretch layer 2 across both data centers, and it's simply a matter of clicking add, giving it a name and giving it a gateway. And that network is created on the NSX platform. It's super simple. So let's go deploy that WordPress template. So I got this from Bitnami. So hi Bitnami, if you're out there. I downloaded this Bitnami template. It was an OVA file. I uploaded it, and now I'm able to deploy off of it. So no modifications necessary. So we're going to go ahead and give this a name. And we're going to set this to never expire. You can set it to run for a small period of time. So if you only want to run that workload for the weekend, or you only want to run it for a few days, you can do that. We're going to set this to never expire. And again, I don't have to pick, there's no picker up at the top to figure out which region I want to deploy this thing to. I can see all of my regions together. So I can pick ACM, and this VCD storage policy is going to land it on top of vSAN. And next. You can also bring your own networks. So if you have an IP range because you don't want to re-IP things, because re-IPing things always goes poorly, you can bring your own networks in, and we can work with you as part of the migration process to bring those IP ranges in. There's some routing changes that you may need to make or circuit changes that you may need to make, but we can bring those IP ranges over. So I'm going to pick this. This is one of our stretch networks. You can choose to use DHCP. Or you can use the advanced networking flow, and in there are IP pools or manual. I'm going to take DHCP to keep this simple. IP pools is EEC's built-in IP address management. A reminder, we don't have t-shirt sizes. So you can go pick whatever types of RAM you want to use, 2 gigs, 4 gigs, 8 gigs, all the way up to, I believe that's like 700 gigs of RAM or 600 gigs of RAM. We're going to pick 2 gigs of RAM. I got to pay for this, right? But you can also set your hard disk sizes. So there's no like base 50 gig drive or 100 gig drive based on the size of the VM. You can make a 15 gig storage device. And so now we're going to go ahead and deploy that. While that's deploying, we're going to go jump into our networking. Come over here to ACM. And we'll go look at our networks. So we have some really cool network capabilities inside of here based on NSX to be able to do things like isolated networks where maybe I want 2 VMs to only be able to talk to each other and nothing else. You can do that maybe in a clustering situation. Or we can do routed networks where it's only on the ACM side, but it's able to be routed out. We can do NAT through there as well. Or you can do a cross VDC network where it's a stretch layer 2. From an edge standpoint, we can use our NSX edges to provide a number of networking services. So in here, we have our main firewall. So this is the top level edge firewall for internal and external connectivity. So we can do things like allow our cohesity platform to get in and out. We can allow HTTP traffic. There's a number of things just at a top edge level. If you want to do DHCP, that service here is enabled. I am handing out some IPs inside of here. But if you have something like maybe an Infoblox platform that you really happen to like, or you have your own DHCP infrastructure, or you don't want to use this one, you can set this up to do relays. You can also do load balancing. So I know a lot of people ask about how do I bring my servers in? I want to put like a smaller load balancer and not like a full global load state. We actually have, customers who want a smaller level of that. We can do virtual servers. We can do layer 3, layer 4. We can do full application profiles and service monitoring. This is all based on the NSX platform. If you want to do full global state load balancing, that's where F5s or NetScalers would come in. You could do those virtually, or because we are still a co-location provider, you can bring your physical F5s, physical NetScalers, put them right next to EEC and connect them all up. So now, if I go back here to vApps, my deployment is complete. So they deploy stopped by default, so that's not a bad thing. I know it's red text. People don't like red text, but it's there. So we're going to go ahead and power that on. And we can see that I have my VM in here. My VM is now powered on. And we're going to go down to the web console. So as you can see in here, you have the same type of options that you had from vCenter before, right? You have installing VMware tools. You can insert media, copy it, create snapshots. You can do all the same sort of things like you could in vCenter, but now you have a different portal and a centralized portal to do that in. So I'm going to jump into the console. We're going to watch this thing boot. And it's grabbed an IP address here. So it's grabbed 97.105. Go over here, open up the tab, paste that in. And now we have a WordPress site, right? So this WordPress site is up and running, did it inside of the demo. Super simple. But now that we have this VM out there, and now that I have other VMs out there, let's go into the VROPS tenant portal. So again, we don't have to bring in additional monitoring. There's no third-party monitoring that you have to go in and attach to this platform. It's already built in, right? So if you're running VROPS on-prem, this is the tenant portal. So it's a simplified version of VROPS. We can help you with dashboards. But we have our capacity overview. So I can see all of the limits or all of my memory that I have. So I can see how much that I'm allocated, storage-wise, memory-wise, how much I'm using. This is a great overview to show as a general dashboard for when you're looking at your resource utilization. And from a VApp standpoint, I'm just going to go ahead and, so I don't click through a number of VMs, I'm going to pick this Ubuntu one that I deployed the other day. And I can see my VApp. And if I had more than one VApp, which you can do, so let's say you have a LAMP stack and you want to have multiple Apache VMs and a MySQL box, you can put those all together as one VApp and deliver that as a template to your developers, your end users. So they can go in and deploy that without having to go deploy one VM, wait, deploy another VM, wait. You can just deploy them all at once as one big template. And they would show up as an organization here. So if I go into the Ubuntu VM, I can see my CPU utilization. I can see my storage utilization all in here. This metric selector actually allows you to go deeper into the platform so you can see things like CPU ready time. But now I remember that I deployed a WordPress box, and security people get nervous about web servers, right? So I need to go put a firewall rule on that. So I'm going to go into our security services here. And this is the microsegmentation firewall, right? This is the distributed firewall from NSX. You have full control over this as part of your deployment. So you can go in here. You don't have to learn a JSON or XML to figure out how to block access to something. Right now I have this block ping firewall rule here. So if I go into my security group is this web server security group, and that's made up of these two tags. So I'm going to go into my servers, my web server tag, and I'm going to go find my Bitnami VM. And we're going to go back to my distributed firewall. There we go. And so I have block ping. So if I try to ping that, no ping, right? So I'm going to take this block ping rule. I'm going to move this down. We'll go ahead and save those changes. And so now after a couple pings, the firewall rule takes effect and up come my pings. So without having to do anything special, I didn't have to fire off, you know, a API call or whatever. I can go into a GUI and get the security functions that I need. So that is the end of the main demo. Go back here to data center so we can take a look at this. One of the other things that we have is our knowledge base. So I have, this is our public knowledge base, kb.expedient.com. So I went through a number of things in here. They're all documented. They're documented really well. I want to send a big thanks to all of our staff that's actually put these together so that it looks really nice. So how to create a virtual machine from template inside of VCD. One of the other things that we have is our API documentation. So this is actually running Postman. So if you are a Postman user, you want to make API calls against the Expedient Enterprise Cloud, maybe you build a VApp template so your developers can do rolling deployments, you can do that. You can click run in Postman. I click open Postman. And over here, once this loads, I have my workspace, and in pop the collection of all of those API calls, which are all in here. They're all documented in here. And then inside of my environment, I now have the Expedient Enterprise Cloud. So I can connect to that and just start doing API deployments directly. So I will now open it up, actually, real quick. So these are where all of our data centers are. We're in Cleveland, Columbus, Boston, Baltimore, Memphis, Phoenix, along with the Pittsburgh and Indianapolis data centers. If you do want to use a hyperscale cloud, let's say you want to use AWS ground control because you have dreams of space, we have our cloud on-ramp. So we have connections to AWS and all of the other hyperscalers through Cleveland, Chicago, San Jose, Ashburn, and Baltimore. So if you do want to use those services, we have very low latency, very high speed connectivity to those, and we can help get you there. So if you're looking to figure out where enterprise cloud would be the best fit, if your application existed 2 years ago, if it's currently running in a VM, if it would cost more to refactor it than it would be to just move it, that's a really great fit. We can get you a test drive. In fact, if you'd like a test drive, you can email me. My contact information is on the next slide. Forgot that I wanted to promote next week where we're going to do push button DR. So I'm going to take this WordPress instance and I'm going to fail it over. So come back next week. We'll do push button DR with the fastest DRAS in the business. That's what it says. So same time next week, 12:30. If you want to test drive a VEC, email me at ajkuftick@expedient.com, at ajkuftick on Twitter, or /in/ajkuftick. So we're more than happy to schedule a test drive, get in, have you guys take a look and kick the tires on that. So there are 133 questions. Oh boy. All right. Will I, Doug Marin asked, and he asked this many minutes ago, what is the newest thing? That's a reference to my bio. The newest thing is what I'm going to do with sourdough starter. Been doing a lot of baking lately. The newest thing is how do we bring cloud native to people who are traditional infrastructure people? How do we do that? What does that look like? And if you stay tuned, we're probably going to have a demo around that. Which cloud provider do I prefer? I prefer Expedient Enterprise Cloud. There's benefits to all of the big hyperscale clouds, sure, and it's based around what their services are and what services you're looking to do. You can go in and drive through a number of various. You could pick your entire environment up and move it there, but there's a lot of challenges to that and not a ton of value in doing it. Bringing it together on something like an enterprise cloud can help get you that next step to that elasticity, an API-driven cloud without having to completely upend everything that you know. Can you choose which cloud to be located and not be relocated to another country? So all of our data centers are in the US. So if you put your VMs into our environment, they stay in the US. You're in full control of that. So you pick what data centers you want to go into. It's part of the planning process. So you can go into Pittsburgh and set up Pittsburgh and Indianapolis as your data centers. And those are the only two places those VMs will live. They don't get replicated out of the country. We don't have any operations out there. So you don't have to worry about that. Is our cloud high trust certified? Yes. We definitely have high trust certification that goes in as part of that whole compliance thing. A lot of the FedRAMP stuff lines up to high trust, which lines up to SOC 2, and compliance is a whole thing. How does this scale as my business grows? So if you want to grow, we can extend your resource pool. So if you know that you need more resources, you can get more resources. It's not tied to node sizes like VMC is. It's not tied to the number of VMs. It's tied to the amount of resources that you have. So if you need more RAM, if you need more capabilities, you can deliver that through additional changes to your contract. But it's very, very straightforward. For new cloud native setups, no on-prem legacy, what would be the advantage to go with Expedient? What we found is that people will say that they don't have any on-prem legacy and they're going to go all cloud native. And then you start to think about all of the things that that application needs to talk to. What data sources does it need to talk to? Very few of our customers have been able to say, yeah, we don't have anything this is a completely new thing and has nothing to do with our existing thing. So as applications have grown and as cloud native has grown, that's where we've seen those platforms kind of grow. There's still advantages to AWS and Azure. If you want to go in and do things like big data, or you want to go in and do things like AI and ML, they have those services available. You don't have to install any software or try to manage all of the things on the bottom. Those services are available. So I would say that that's probably where you would want to go if you're looking at a full service versus trying to utilize containers and VMs that way. Yes, we'll be emailing the slides. Is there direct connect availability for AWS? So yes. Hi, Sam. Yes, we have direct connect availability for AWS. That's part of our cloud on-ramp. So if you want to use those, we have those already. The connections are already up. Do we offer a managed VDI solution? No. If you want to do VDI, that's not impossible. We can bring in, we'll stand up the infrastructure, but you have to put the brokers on top. But it's totally capable. We have customers doing VDI. In fact, one of our big case studies, Bouchard Insurance. So if you go out to our website, they have a VDI platform that they're running on our environment. And they are doing that with push button DR. And they had a hurricane coming and they did a failover of their entire VDI platform to another site before the hurricane showed up. So they were able to get their employees out of the way, had them work from home, and the VDI platform was up the whole time. So we don't have managed VDI, but VDI is still something that a number of our customers are running. We use 6.7. When are we going to version 7? So version 7 is new as of like 2 weeks ago. So I would say the version 7 is coming in the future. I would say it's a good long way away. How do you secure your NSX? So each one of our tenants gets an NSX edge. So there's no real shared edge there. So our security on the NSX the management of it is only available to us and you access it through the tenant portal. Will the customer get dedicated hardware or shared? We have both options. So if you don't have the need for dedicated hardware, you can go into our big shared platform. If you do need dedicated hardware or you have some sort of requirement that doesn't allow you to share your hardware, we have dedicated nodes so we can deliver that in a dedicated fashion. We have a couple customers that are doing that now. What is our committed uptime for the vCloud environment? We have a 100% SLA, full stop. If you're down, you get a credit. It's just how it works. There's no 5 nines. There's no how many minutes of downtime. You have a 100% SLA. Your VMs will be up. Do we have data centers across the world for redundancy? No. Our data centers are in the US. At the same time, that doesn't stop us from putting our cloud into other locations, so we can do that. So we have customers that are doing that, but they're doing it to their data center. So it's our cloud on-prem. So we are at time. I will go through some of these other questions. Karen, hi Karen. Karen's from our marketing group. Do we have a name?
Yes, we have a name. His name is Dave Golden through,
Dave?
I just had it.
It's okay.
Generator up, Advanced Medical Technology Association.
Great. So Dave, congratulations. Karen will be reaching out to you. Thanks for asking a question. We're going to try and answer as many of these questions as we can. And we'll go forward from there. But thanks everybody for attending. I want to remind everybody we'll be here next week doing push button DR. So come on back for that. Thanks everybody.